Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. We will continue our look through RWBY Volume 6 with Chapter 2, Uncovered. From the beginning, there is a spoiler warning in place, so the episode is now public. Go to roosterteeth.com and check out the episode before viewing this review. Overall, this was a good episode. There were a lot of points I really liked, but I'm going to get back to those to end on a positive note. I think I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant first. So, and real quick, the plot of this episode was really the audience is learning more about the relic they recovered from the end of Volume 5. There's more to it than that, but that's kind of just the bare bones plot. And I'm going to start with this rant first and then get to the good stuff. So, in my episode 1 review, I said with the character of Ozpin that it looked like they were going a certain way. And with episode 2, and now episode 3 going out, I haven't seen episode 3 yet, but everyone's sort of raving about it on Twitter, so I'm really excited. But anyway, back to this. With chapter 1 of Volume 6, it looked like the character of Ozpin was going to be handled a certain way. And sure enough, in Chapter 2, it went that way. In a lot of these sort of fantasy stories, sci-fi stories, and, sort of these good versus evil type stories in general, there's this trope that shows up a lot. I'm not going to say it shows up all the time, but it shows up fairly often. And that is the leader character. Not the main protagonist, but the leader. Like Professor Ozpin, Professor Dumbledore, Nick Fury. I'm not saying this trope applies to all those characters, I'm just listing them off as examples. Anyway, there's this trope that the leader character has secrets pertaining to the cause they're fighting for, the enemies they're fighting, so on and so forth. And when the protagonists, the main characters, the heroes, find out that A, this leader has been withholding information, B, they're keeping these secrets for them, they start to turn on the leader. They start to see him or her as a bad guy, and they start to treat him hostilely and such. And this only applies to me, so if you have no problem with it, that's fine. But I really hate this trope. It's just, I've never seen it done good. I've never seen it done bad, but it's just, it's always handled so ham-fisted, so forced, and, and a lot of times I see where the leader is coming from. It's like, this information is sensitive. Are you sure you can even handle this information? And the way, when the protagonists do find out whatever these secrets are, the way they turn on the leader, it always leads me to believe, no, you couldn't handle this information, and your actions right now show it. And it's just, like I said, it's a trope that I have a lot of issues with, mainly because of how ham-fisted and clunky it's always executed. But other than that, like I said, this was a good episode. We saw a little more. We saw that Team RWBY has picked up a bit of a hitchhiker named Maria Calavera. And the symbology of the opening sequence, because the opening sequence for each volume always tends to foreshadow what's going to happen, leads us to believe she's going to play an important role. We haven't seen much of her yet. But that being said, I am looking forward to seeing it, because it's like, who are you, mysterious old lady? And there's that. And then the other big thing about this episode, Cinder is alive. Called it! No, everyone was talking about it. It was like, oh my god, Cinder's dead. And then when the poster for Volume 6 came out, everyone was freaking out that Cinder's alive. And it's like, guys, this is kind of common knowledge. If you remember in Volume 3, because Cinder is the Fall Maiden. If you remember in Volume 3, the transfer of maiden powers is very, very visual. Granted, there are extenuating circumstances to the transfer of maiden powers in Volume 3. But no, yeah, we can assume that if we take those extenuating circumstances out, the transfer of maiden powers is a very visual process. And when Raven threw Cinder down that cliff, that was it. We didn't see anything. So, and I am looking forward to seeing what her arc this volume will be, because, you know, she is alive, as we discovered, and she is still on the hunt for Ruby. She has been consumed by this quest for revenge. But what's interesting is that, as it looks like right now, she is cut off from Salem, which means essentially Cinder is powerless again. And I like that Cinder's arc so far has been set in the bottom half of Mistral. If you remember from the lore, the Kingdom of Mistral has this pretty huge class divide. The upper cities, the upper cities are the higher class, and then the lower cities are the lower class, and they have this whole criminal underground going on. And I like that Cinder's arc is taking place so far is taking place in the sort of underworld of Mistral, because all of Volume 5 we saw the upper world of Mistral. And what's interesting, what I look forward to about Cinder is she is cut off from Salem, at least for right now, so she is essentially powerless again. Like, that is what drew her to Salem in the first place. She wants power. And once again, she has no power, and she is, from what we saw, very paranoid. So, you know, the way Cinder worked in volume, as we saw through the previous volumes, is that when things didn't go her way, when alliances didn't work out, we saw this with Adam, Cinder would strong-arm her way into making things work. And she's not in a position to do that. So, I said this like I think half a dozen times now, but seeing what's going to go on with Cinder in that extent is going to be interesting. And as I said earlier, we learned a little bit more about the Relic of Knowledge. It's a djinn named Jin. I think that's the joke. Voiced by Colleen Clinkenbeard, which I thought was cool. And every century you can ask her any question within limits. You know, she was designed to help humanity pursue knowledge. And that cliffhanger. Oh, I'm looking forward to episode 3 myself after that. Oh, bit of a short review here. I'm looking at the timer, but yeah, there isn't really much to talk about here. Uncovered was good. It gave us more lore. It started a new plot thread that looks interesting. And I did like this episode despite that one major nitpick I have. I'm going to give Uncovered an A-, because again, that whole trope that I have issues with really brought it down for me. But yeah, this is my thoughts on Uncovered. What were your thoughts? Go ahead and start a conversation in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and then click that little bell in the corner next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload, because subscribe stopped doing that. And if you want further updates on my channel, I have my Twitter account set up. Click the link in the description below to follow it. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I will see you guys next time.